Todd, welcome back to SuperChat.
Thanks, Gary. Glad to talk to you. Glad to have this opportunity.
Well, it's a pleasure. For the benefit of our listeners, what can you report regarding the very latest on the redistricting issue? I know we've covered this in the past, but this thing's very fluid and things do change.
And it's a very important topic because I keep wanting to address it because I think there's this perception out here that we're going to schools and presenting, but decisions have been made. And by no means have decisions been made. We have taken time to form a committee that looks at what saves us money for transportation issues, what is the most effective way to get kids into these new state-of-the-art buildings. They're built for an attendance of 850 to 950. We want to have these buildings full. What they offer is phenomenal in terms of 21st century learning, better lighting, better acoustics, microphones for teachers for any hearing impairments, allergen systems tied to the heating and air conditioning, and just an overall better physical atmosphere for our students. Now, this comes with making decisions that look at moving neighborhoods. So I just want to reinforce again, when we looked at moving neighborhoods, it was about cost savings to the district, and then how do we get Colerain Elementary down to a workable number, because our goal since we passed the bond issue 2 years ago was to somehow fund, without passing a bond issue, a K-8 campus that included Colerain L and Colerain Middle. So with that being said, we had to move approximately 320 to 340 kids out of Colerain L, a building that we did put window air conditioners in, but in August and September, when it's really hot, and toward the end of the year in May, the hallways are not air conditioned. The rooms are smaller. They are not as well lit. They cannot provide the same opportunities for our students. We also made the commitment that whatever we did redistricting for our elementaries, it would not affect their attendance at their middle school or high school. So none of that has changed whatsoever. We have 2 more nights of presentations, and then we will post on our website what the plan is and the maps we have shown during each redistrict meeting. But we are still looking for feedback. We are taking questions as we go. We're going to put out an FAQ that answers the questions we've received during our meetings, and then we are listening to suggestions. I have emails from concerned parents. I have meetings set up from concerned parents. No final decision has been made and most likely will not be made until the March board meeting. Once a decision is made, we will send mailers out to those families who are affected, who currently attend one school and will be moved to the new school. Otherwise, we will send out inter-district transfer forms, which we are still granting in a case of hardships. And then I also want parents to know that, even if we came to your school and you're not going to the new school, I've had questions, can we get to the new school somehow? We don't want to pass up that opportunity. And the answer is yes. And that's by filling out inter-district request forms. Now, if we get a flood of them, obviously we'll have to set a cutoff number. But between that and the hardship issues, we are still allowing hardship issues to transfer. We understand daycare. We understand the need for putting someone on a bus and picking a child up off a bus. We've had a lot of questions about students with disabilities. IEP teams will play an important part of each of those decisions on where is the best place for the student to attend school. So I just want to reaffirm that nothing is final. We are presenting, and whether you think it's final or not, I'm listening to the feedback, why a neighborhood shouldn't be moved, but it has to be something that's a concrete reason. Some questions we have, for example, are, if you change my elementary school, you'll change my property value. We've checked with realtors, and that is not true. If you change an elementary from a Colerain L to a Taylor, or a Welch to a Taylor, or a Welch to a Peary, it doesn't change the value of the home. So I just want to continue to get the words out. We have 2 more meetings. After that, check the website for the latest updates. And then again, an FAQ will go out, and notification when a final decision is made after gathering all the feedback. So I just wanted to retouch on that again.
Excellent report on that. Very good. Well, let me change directions on you, Todd. Can you bring stakeholders up to date on the work being addressed by your diversity committee?
Yeah, we are very happy and pleased with the direction that the Diversity Committee is going. It is currently comprised of 25 diverse parents, staff, and community members. The group was developed after a public call to action in December at a board presentation by Dr. Turney and Dr. Monique Johnson, who facilitated various focus groups, and Dr. Kessling, who presented a racial breakdown of our classified and certified staffs. The Diversity Committee has already met twice in January and will meet again on February 15th. And just to remind our community members, the meetings are designed to use successful school models to guide our development of a district-wide diversity plan. We need to make sure that, one, we do our best to make sure our staff is as diverse as our student body, that students have staff members who reflect their culture, who reflect their diversity, who can relate to them. I have student committees at each high school that I've talked to about our diversity committee. They have very strong feelings and very strong wants and needs that ask questions of, Mr. Bowling, why do we not have more African American teachers in our building? So that is something that the diversity committee is trying to approach and trying to look into. We are using guiding plans that we've found at surrounding school districts. Fairfield City School has a diversity plan. Olentangy Local has a diversity plan. So we're trying to get from others what they do in order to try to get a direction for us. Some things we're looking at is student demographics, our staff data, our needs, changing the way we recruit teachers. We've gone as far as identifying the top colleges for graduating teachers overall and African American teachers. And some of the problems you run into is that the two that graduate the most are Cleveland State and Bowling Green in the state of Ohio. And 90% of them are hired by Cleveland Public Schools or Columbus Public Schools. The battle we fight there is their pay is more than what we offer, so sometimes they go for the money. It is not just a Northwest issue. Our surrounding districts face similar issues with a diversified staff, so we will continue to approach that. We are looking at little things, starting teacher academies internally at both high schools, trying to start them in their 9th grade year, get them to go into the education field where we have a lack of quality educators as it is. We snatch up, I think, the best every year and do a great job with professional development. And then our awesome veteran teachers do a good job of mentoring these folks. But we need to make sure we hire more diversity. That's one of the big things that it's looking at.
There is, of course, pockets of around the country teacher shortages. And so it's very competitive out there. It's not like it was even 6-8 years ago. It's very, very different. But yeah, good update there, Todd. Well, let me ask you something else. What can you share with our audience about the latest update on the new schools facilities?
The schools are going well. We're on time. We're under budget. I cannot emphasize that enough. We had a list of alternatives that when we started building for the master facility plan, that was our wish list, that if we can stay under budget and get things priced cheaper than what we expected, we can put these alternatives in there. We're almost at 100% for all these alternatives. So we're very excited about that. Some of the tough parts, though, are going to be the school closing ceremonies. And that's at Taylor, Struble, Pleasant Run, Welch, and Weigel. We have gone as far as trying to identify a list of former principals. For example, Struble, Joe Luckett, Ken Jones, Russell Sammons, Lewis Burns, Ed Meyer, Bill Duke, Judy Vermillion, Sue Karen, Claudia Farmer, and currently Karen Grayson. Our other schools like Beavis before it closed, Bill Bullock, Dick Starnes, Denny Nagel, Colin Clymer. We're trying to get everybody involved in these closing ceremonies. And what I want the folks to understand is that we have set times. We will continue to promote them through social media, through letters home with our students. But we still think because of the size of parking lots, because of the size of some of our smaller elementaries like Struble and Taylor, we might have to stagger times during the evening. We want to make sure we invite back former teachers. We invite back former administrators. For example, Everett Welch, we've been contacted by their family. Very excited to have his family members be a part of that. But I also want to make sure that folks understand we're reducing from 5 elementaries to 3. But the ones who are not being named, like Welch and Weigel, we want to make sure they have a part of the school, whether that be naming a hallway, naming a floor, naming an auditorium after them. We want their history and their past to be there. We will be going through each of our elementary schools that we are scheduling to demolish. We will be bringing out key artifacts, board members that were originally there when the school was open. We want to keep tradition in place. So we haven't forgot about that. To put out the dates for the meetings, the Weigel closing ceremony is April 19th at 6:30. The Taylor closing ceremony is April 20th at 6:30. The Welch closing ceremony is April 26th at 6:30. The Struble Elementary closing ceremony is April 27th at 6:30. And lastly, PRE is May 3rd at 6:30. So at some of these sites, Struble and Taylor, we may start at 6:30, but we will get word out that we might have to go 6:30 and 8 just because of the pure volume that we think is going through there. I am being contacted via email, Facebook, Twitter, questions about the closing ceremony. So I really wanted to use the podcast to get that information out. We will not forget tradition and history of past schools. We do very much want to incorporate it into our new schools. If people have been to Houston, when Houston closed from being an elementary school, and even when Beavis closed, there are parts of Houston that acknowledge the past and the history there, and we want to do the same in our new building. So how exactly that occurs, we're not quite there yet, but we have the ceremonies in place. The PTAs are working with the building administration. So it's a combination of administration, parental involvement, and community involvement to make sure these are the best closing ceremonies we can have.
Oh, I love bringing the history and the past into play a part in this entire ceremony and recognition. I just think that's a nice touch. Well, Todd, a very direct and informative report today. I appreciate your summary on things, and I'm sure our listeners, your stakeholders, do as well. And I'd like to thank you for joining me once again here on SuperChat.
Thanks, Gary. I always appreciate when we have a chance to talk.